Hey guys, it's the Wasteland Girl Detective, and this week we are talking food buffs, specifically herbivore food buffs. This will be part one of a two-part series. The next part will cover carnivore. Bear with me because I'm fighting a cold right now, so my voice is a little bit off. So what do we mean when we talk about buffs? As you can see in the left hand, each of these recipes provides a different boost, like intelligence, AP, HP. Like they'll all, for the most part, refill your food and drink meters that you need to keep full, but they'll provide something else as well. So there's quite a few plant-based food buffs. I'm not going to go through every single recipe, otherwise this video would be like 6 hours long, but I'm going to hit the highlights and I'm going to show you where you can find ingredients that you would need for most of these recipes. Some of these you can, create a farm in your camp. Some of them you need to harvest in the wild, and some of them, like sugar, salt, and pepper, you'll find from scavenging. Also, the locations I show you, those are my go-to spots when I'm farming ingredients that I need. You can find a lot of these ingredients all over the wasteland, but my whole deal is trying to be quick and efficient because I hate mundane tasks like crafting food buffs. So this will get you pretty much all the ingredients you need to make a decent amount of whatever food buffs you're looking to craft. If you're just getting into Fallout, here's some information you might need. You need recipes to craft anything, including food. So where can you find recipes? Well, one place you can go to is Antoine at the White Spring Mall. He has got a pile of recipes, not all of them, but a decent amount. You can also find them in the wild, in containers, or just laying on a table like that. And that will allow you to craft these. Now, these are grayed out because I don't have all the ingredients. I have every single recipe. Sometimes you get them in quests. You can buy them from, Antoine or different vendors. I think the Scav Trader, one of the random Scav Traders, she sells it as well. So over time, you will accumulate the recipes that you need to craft items. You can also find them at player vendors as well. So now I've got the recipes. You can see the buffs. You can go through and pick out which recipes you're interested in. The requirements appear on the right-hand side. Wouldn't it be cool if you could get just a little bit more return out of these boosts? Well, you can with serums. Without going too much into serums, there is a carnivore serum and there is a herbivore serum. This guy sells serums and serum recipes. You can find him at the White Spring Bunker, or player vendors will often sell serums and sometimes serum recipes in their vendors. But here he is dispensing them in the White Spring Bunker. They are quite pricey though, so yeah, you don't need to pay that much for the individual serums. Just look in player vendors. But if you want to buy the recipe so you can craft them yourself, here they are. The other thing you need to know about these serums is they don't stack. You can't run herbivore and carnivore at the same time. And with one notable exception, once you take the herbivore serum, carnivore food buffs will not work for you outside of the first hour that you take that serum. So we know where to find recipes. We've talked about serums. Now, one of the easiest ways to gather ingredients for your recipes is by building a farm at your camp, but you'll need a few supplies to get started. So we're going to head on over to Lewis & Sons Farming Supply. And if we just head up the road to this greenhouse, most of what we'll need to make a little farm in our camp is here. Gourds, mut fruit, melons, corn, potatoes. And then if we pop out here, there's blackberries over here, which you can also plant. Ash rose you cannot plant, but it is just good to know that location is a spot for ash rose if you need it. If we fast travel to Silva Homestead, there's a good supply at this farm down the road of razor grain, which you can also plant if you harvest that. And then I think the one thing, yeah, there's the location on the map. The one other thing that I don't think they had at either of those locations was carrots. So we're gonna head over to Palace in the Winding Path. And if you skirt around the outside of it, there is a garden towards the back. There's some more blackberries. There's a little garden, oh, more blackberries. And there's carrots, potatoes, and then they have asters, which I use for my steeped fernflower tea. You can't plant them, so it's nice to have a place where you can go and farm them reliably, and that's quite a lot of them. Also, before you head out, make sure you have green thumb as an active perk card under perception, because you will get twice as many items when you're harvesting for plants and fungi. So we head back. Here's my little farm. I don't have a lot of each plant, but that's okay, because if I'm going to harvest my items here, I'll show you something else that you should have in your camp. I'm just going to jump up and down and harvest. So I'm going to pick all these items, or as many as I can before I lose patience. So I'll pick a bunch of these crops. I always have a lot of potatoes on hand, and I don't really use them as a herbivore. So I'm gonna head over to my turbo fertilizer, and they produce a grenade, which I'm gonna throw. And that was the wrong grenade, I realized. Okay, that was a fright grenade. Let's equip it. And then after I throw this, you can see potatoes, everything regrows instantly. So that's useful to have. And then I don't need to take up too much space with too many of each crop. Now, if you don't have the turbo fertilizer, what a terrible name. You can head over to Foundation. We're just going to sidetrack a little bit, because while we're here, I'll just show you there's a garden where you can get potatoes and corn, and you can get silt beans. Silt beans you cannot plant at your camp. This is something that you have to find. So there's a location. I will throw timestamps down for the video, so if there's a specific item you're looking for, you can find it in the video. There's Samuel. We'll just trade him some gold for the plan to the turbo fertilizer, which I think is honestly one of the most useful items, especially if you're running food buffs. It is 750 gold, so you can buy the plan for it from Samuel. So that is how to create the farm, and I showed you a few items like an ash rose and silt bean and aster that you can find in the wild. So we're just going to keep rolling with that and find the locations where you can find wild ingredients that you might need. So we're going to head over to the ash heap. This is one of the only places I go in the ash heap for ingredients. And when you spawn in, you're going to head south. So just keep heading south. Now I came through and harvested some stuff yesterday and forgot to record it. So that's blight, that's gold looking fungus thing. And then over here, there's a little pond area, and there's a bunch of ash rose. There's quite a few. I said quite a few. I think there's like 3 or 4 ash rose over here. And then there's also more blight around. So just look for the gold. I don't really use blight, but it does, I know some people do like to make blight soup, so the blight soup does give you a critical damage boost, but there's other things that I prefer over that. So, and then we're gonna head over to Willard's corporate housing. These areas are a little bit spicier out of my harvesting locations, so just be aware. There's a bunch of floaters around here. There's snallies. And then there's also, eventually, once I dispense with these guys, we're gonna find some mutated fern flower. There's quite a few places to harvest mutated fern flower. I actually used to go to the cranberry bog, but I got frustrated because I hated having to deal with scorch beasts every time I went to harvest them. So there's a mutated fern flower. And then I'm just gonna search around. You scour around the outer area and just look for the clumps of ferns. I use it for steeped fernflower tea, which is a strength boost. When you run herbivore build, you sacrifice strength and damage, really, but you gain a slightly better XP and critical damage. So that's just the trade-off. So I believe steeped fernflower tea is and simple fernflower tea, I think those are the only strength buffs. So I'm just gonna keep scouring around and I'll find some more. You can also go to Dolly Sod's Wilderness. There's a bunch of them there. And then I believe around Monongah you can find them as well. But they don't blend in with the landscape here like they do in other locations like the mire, so that's why I just prefer coming here. I just find it easier to find these guys. There's one other item that you can find here, and it is a thistle. Oh, well, there's toxic soot flower, which I don't use them, but if you want to use them for teas, then you find them here. Now we're gonna see something right away, and those are thistles. Now, I don't use thistles in anything that I make, but if you want thistle, it's in you'll find them in this area. And here is another clump of thistle. They're not very common, but this is in that same Wavy Willard's corporate housing area by the park. So now, like the thistle, some items are really hard to find. Strangler bloom would be one of them. If you have this cool apothecary resource in your camp, you might find one. Otherwise, you need to check what time it is. Make sure it's nighttime, and then head on over to Dire Chemical. It has to be nighttime. And then we're gonna drop down to the swampy area and we're gonna look for the glow. And there is a Strangler bloom. So sometimes you can pick like the pods during the daytime. They might spawn. Otherwise, if you need the bloom specifically, see there's the Strangler pod. If you need the bloom specifically, you need to wait for nighttime, and then you head over here, you chat with the locals, and then you look for that glowing flower. So there are usually a few scattered around. You just need to head up and down this river creek thing, and there's two. And again, that green thumb, you'll get double what you're harvesting. Strangler bloom's used to make rad resist tea, and one of the disease cures calls for it. Next, we're gonna head to Fort Defiance and harvest some brain fungus and glowing fungus. I like coming to Fort Defiance because I can search for asylum dresses and I can harvest brain fungus as well. So you'll see some there. Oh, there's a Nuka-Cola Quantum. So lots of brain fungus, lots of green glowing fungus. I mean, there's lots of places to find the... Oh, I did not have green thumb equipped at that point. So lots of places to find brain fungus and the glowing fungus. I just happened to come to this location. You can find them in old houses. You can find them in the Cranberry Bog, at Lost Home. You can find them in Hopewell Cave. this is just my location. Next, we're going to head over to Point Pleasant. If you watched any of my XP videos, then you'll know that this is where I go for my Mothman eggs. There is a resource you can build in camp, but that only supplies 4 Mothman eggs at a time. So if it's, you know, if I don't feel patient, I can just head over to Point Pleasant and get a whole whack of them. So you just run the gauntlet of cultists. And you get here where you can harvest Mothman eggs. The green thumb doesn't apply to this, so it's just 1 per harvest. So you can collect all this stuff here. And then while we're here, we're gonna head around the outside here eventually. There's the bus shelter, and then we're gonna jump up on this stairwell. See bus shelter right there. Oh, we gotta deal with some of these guys. Okay, let's go to Aaron Holt Farmstead. This is another familiar location. If you've watched some of my other videos, I come here to harvest cranberries for cranberry relish, which is an XP boost buff. XP buff boost? I don't know. Somehow I managed to get here during Leader of the Pack or Wolf Horde. So around back, there's a bunch of cranberry bushes here. There's 6-ish. So lots of cranberries. And some bugs too. Insects if you need insects for a daily. Okay, on to Black Mountain Ordnance Works for some Starlight Creeper. Starlight Creeper is something that's found all over the forest. But here are a few of my go-to spots. So Black Mountain Ordnance, you just head over down this road, meet some robots. Hello, robot. Oh, yeah, there are some robots around here. And then if you're looking for some, not those, they trick you sometimes. You're like, oh, that's them. No, this is them, Starlight Creeper. Did I say, well, Starlight Berries from the Starlight Creeper. So there's a few plants over here if you look around. You can also go to Helvetia, and there's a few scattered throughout. So there's one over here behind the house. It doesn't have any berries on it right now. And then if we head over to this house over here. Oh, it feels so empty. Hurry up and get here, February. And there's a spot for some more. This next location we're gonna pop to also has Starlight Creepers. I just get into a habit whenever I see them, I harvest them because sometimes they can be difficult to find. So Golly Mine, this is one of the last locations we'll head to. I come here for Starlight Creeper berries and Firecap mushrooms. So usually, oh, there we go. This was another one that could be kind of hard to find. There's a Starlight Creeper that doesn't have berries on it. So if you explore the area around this Golly Mine exit, you can find Firecaps. You just need to take, I don't know, 10 minutes to just keep an eye out for them, because sometimes you'll find a lot of them, you know, if it's the verdant season in the forest, and sometimes it'll be hard to spot them. So we found a couple so far. You can follow the river. There's some more Starlight Creeper. So this is a good place to find both Firecaps and Starlight Creeper. Starlight Creeper is used in a few recipes. I think the sweet nut fruit tea uses Starlight Creeper. Firecaps I use in Firecap Souffle, which is a damage resist buff. This area is also a great entry point in the river if you're going to harvest the Snaptail reeds. If you need to make some sugar and you don't feel like searching for sugar, this is what you need. Snaptails and wood, and you can craft sugar. So there are tons of Snaptails along this river. You're also going to find some spicy friends along the river. And if we look around close to the river, you can find other plants and fungi like firecap mushrooms. You can find glowing fungus, the flowers. There's a Starlight Creeper, another one. And then once you get closer, kind of the wayward area, you'll start seeing bloodleaf in the river as well. I'll just cut to that. So there's your bloodleaf that you might use in a tea, some of the recipes. And you can keep taking that to flatwoods. Okay, the last place we're going to look for plants is the deep. I'm pretty sure it's the last place anyways. And here you can find a few different plants, some that we've already looked for. I went the total wrong way. Don't go this way. Yeah, turn around the other direction and you'll see the deep, which somehow I managed to miss, and I went the long way, which I'm not going to show you because it's embarrassing. So if you come in here right off the bat, you can see there's a bunch of glowing fungus and brain fungus as well. I don't come here ever because I find my brain fungus and glowing fungus other places. There's quite a few cave crickets, so just be aware of those fun little friends. Yeah, but I'm going to show it to you because there's some flowers that you can only find here, plants you can only find here. So here's this person that is having a bad day. And once you get rid of all the cave crickets, and again, you see some brain fungus, we're going to go swimming. I'm bloodied, so this was not the best idea I've ever had. I probably should have done something about my rods. But just be aware of it because you're going to start taking rods as soon as you jump in. And then you just follow it, turn your flashlight on. You can't really drown until you get to this part where you can't surface for air, but it's pretty short passage. And then, yeah, see, look at my rods go. And then you surface, and I got confused and disoriented in the cave a little bit and went the wrong way. And then I turned back around. There is a place for you to climb up, and you'll see pink. And I'm just going to do something about my rods. Okay. So you can't pick these kaleidopore flowers here. Those you can only pick at Arctos Pharma, but you can harvest the fever blossoms. And fever blossoms you can use, there's tea, there's chems that you use it in as well, but this is the only place, as far as I'm aware of at the moment, where you can harvest the fever blossoms. So there's quite a few. I think you might need them for one of the camp items as well. The tea gives you AP regen. Oh look, there's some Starlight Creeper, more fever blossom. Yeah, I think there might actually be one or two other locations, and in that budding apothecary resource that you can have at your camp, you have a chance of collecting one of those. So, oh, there's a legendary. Nice. So here's a location though where there's quite a few fever blossoms. Just an FYI if that's a recipe you wanted to craft. Oh my god, we're almost there. So miscellaneous items like sugar bombs. You need the dirty variety for some of the recipes. This is the top of the Flatwoods Church in the steeple. I just pick these up. If you find dirty sugar bombs, just pick them up. If you're not going to use them, then you'll be able to sell them or just in your vendor, or you'll be able to drop them for a friend. If you've heard of Buffs and Brews, they're always looking for sugar bomb, like dirty sugar bomb donations. So you're never going to lose out by picking up the dirty sugar bombs, not the clean ones. Those you can just display and look pretty. So over here on top of Red Rocket gas station, you can find up to 3 or none. None is an option as well. But where I usually go is Mosstown, not the Fisher site, although it's like in between the Fisher site and Mosstown. So if you head over there, not to the main Mosstown area, but there's a shack over here. Try and run quietly so I don't have to deal with a Scorch Beast. My next video is on carnivore buffs, so I'm gonna have to deal with Scorch Beast like a ton. It's not a big deal, it's just kind of a pain in the butt when you don't really feel like fighting them. So usually you can find a bathtub full of them, but today I've been harvesting them quite a bit lately. Today there's just one. So those 3 spots normally would give you the amount of sugar bombs you need. Now, the other thing that you're probably gonna need is pepper and salt. Again, this is something you should just pick up whenever you see it. I came to the bed and breakfast, Mountainside bed and breakfast, just to show you, royal jelly. You can make royal jelly taffy with it. Is it AP Refresh or AP? I'm not sure, but there's not too many locations. You can find it at Mountainside bed and breakfast. Anyways, if there's a kitchen, if there's a dining room, and spices, forgot about that. You should find pepper, salt, and spices. So just pick them up as you find them. There's another royal jelly taffy or royal jelly location. Sometimes they're found up here. So any kitchen, any dining room, picnic tables will have them. Pick them up as you find them. If you get too many, you can always sell them to an NPC vendor or a player vendor or a player or whatever. I hate having to look for salt and pepper. I just pick it up when I find it. If you pick it up whenever you see them, you're not going to have to run around and harvest them. And it just, makes it a lot easier. So I've got a whole bunch of ingredients. I'm just back at my camp to point out a few things. Now you can see the corner of that budding apothecary station. I think it's fantastic. I put it in all my camps. There's the Mothman nest that produces Mothman eggs. Not as many as I need for brain bombs, but I still have it there. And then I have my communist collectron station because it produces plant-based meals and crafting items. My water boiler from the last season or the season before that. That thing is fantastic. Otherwise, find a body of water, collect some dirty water, and craft your boiled water, because most of your recipes, with the exception of a few brain bombs, namely, brain bombs will require purified water instead. So I should have placed a water purifier in my camp as well. This is my new crafting, like food crafting camp that I have set up so I can get all the resources that I need. Now, when you have all your ingredients, you can head to the cook stove. You can craft what you want. Make sure you've got super duper on. I don't make everything. I don't make buffs for perception typically, unless I happen to have a whole bunch of ingredients and it's there. Typically, I will craft brain bombs. I will craft cranberry relish. I might do a luck like Charlie's Feed or Chew Stick. Chew Stick I didn't talk about. Lureweed is something that you can really only find at the vendors in the White Springs, and not always, just under food and drink. Firecap souffle I'll make for energy resist. And then Mega Sloth mushroom soup I'll craft for critical damage. You can also use mutt fruit soup for critical damage as well. Or sweet, not mutt fruit soup. I'm sorry, sweet mutt fruit tea will also work for that. Sweet mutt fruit tea was also working if you are a carnivore. Just some information. And depending on the ingredients, I'll make either simple fern flour, but I prefer to make the steeped fern flour. It just gives you a little bit more strength. But with all the ingredients we've been harvesting, gut shroom, there are some items I didn't cover. I just never make them and I don't find them particularly useful. And then sugar, oh, there's the thistle. Sugar, see, I can craft a whole bunch of sugar with the Snaptail. You know, there's things like sunshine oil. There are a lot of recipes. If you find something and it works for you, regardless of what I've said or my top 10, you know, use them. But they'll all fill your hunger meter. They'll all fill your drink meter. And just make sure you're running that herbivore serum so you get extra benefit from it. Remember that these, once you take them, there is a time limit, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. So just be mindful of that. And yeah, so that is my super condensed version. I haven't tackled a big topic like this before. If you have any feedback, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. The last thing I'll say is that there are 2 magazines that can also enhance Live Love 3 and Backwoodsman 6. Live Love 3 is getting a patch. It will no longer, you won't get like extra benefits from brain bombs and cranberry relish after the patch, from what I've heard. If I hear any more, I'll communicate that. Backwoodsman 6 still works for cranberry relish, brain bombs, and Firecap souffle and a few others, even though it's really mainly used by carnivores. So just some extra information for you. You can see the timer, what I've got left on those. Just keep an eye on your meters. And that is it for part 1, herbivore, plant-based meals. That was so much information to cover. I tried to condense it down to what I find useful generally. If you have any feedback, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments, because I am working on part 2, which would be the carnivore food buffs. That should be out next weekend. Thank you guys so much for your ongoing support while I muddle through and figure the YouTube thing out. And have a great day. Bye.